Hello, you guys. Welcome back. Thanks for watching. I'm Elizabeth from Elizabeth's Oracle, and today we are going to be talking about the Sun through Leo cycle for 2015. Yay! Not only do we have the Sun and, of course, Mercury, who always travels very closely with the Sun, rolling through Leo, Venus, while it's dipping into Virgo for a second here, is going to roll back into Leo for the rest of its retrograde and then Leo transit. We have Jupiter hitting the final powerful degrees of Leo, and Mars is coming to town. So we have a lot of Leo energy going on now. All that will be getting squared by Saturn and Scorpio. Ooh. Some tense angles. We do have also a little retrograde bottleneck at the end of July that I'm going to talk to you about. But here are the start times for each section. Thank you again for watching, and I hope you enjoy. Okay, so let's talk about Leo. Leo is a fixed fire sign. It is symbolized by the lion. So we are talking about determination, loyalty when we talk about the fixed aspect of it. On the fiery side, we're talking about passion, lots of energy. And if you think about it, the source of energy is the sun, which of course is the symbol and the home planet for Leo. So the next cycle will give us all a chance to get in touch with that source energy and be revitalized. Leo is also about confidence and courage. So these planets, as they travel through Leo, are going to kind of give us all a boost. Yes, if you're a fire sign or you have Leo as your sun, rising, or moon, you'll feel a little bit more of this. But because we have so many planets transiting Leo, this is an energy we can all tap into. And if you think about how revitalizing the sun is and how that's just, source energy for whatever you want to do, and then you combine it with the creativity and the theatrics of Leo. Okay, so maybe a little drama, but I think we're actually going to get that from Saturn. But let me talk about the planets in Leo first. So of course, on the 22nd of July, the sun goes into Leo for about a month. On the 23rd, Mercury comes into Leo for a quick run through, lasting until the 7th of August. Then on the 31st of July, Venus comes out of that 0 degrees Virgo point that it just kind of touched on back into Leo, where it will be until October 8th. Long while in Leo. That retrograde, by the way, is going to last until September 6th. Jupiter is in the intense final degrees of Leo, so that's at its strongest, and Jupiter is expanding everything it touches, and so it's adding even more to all this Leo energy until August 11th, which is about 2/3 of the way through this sun cycle. And then also, just as Jupiter kind of leaves the party, Mars shows up. So we have tons of energy. Mars just activates us. If Venus shows us what we're attracted to, what we like to wear, where we like to live, all those things that we appreciate. Mars is our drive and our ambition about how to go get them. And Mars will be in Leo all the way to September 24th. So the reason I'm pointing out all of these energies right now is to just sort of prepare you as the sun goes through and it starts to activate all that Leo energy, courage, confidence, that willingness to step into the spotlight and to step up to whatever's important to you. We're going to have this energy in effect for the next couple of months. And so just really harness it. And the other part I want to point out is, as we talked about in some of the other videos, the astrological journey begins in Aries, the source coming into being, life itself. Then Taurus, we get into the fact that we're in a body, the physical realm. Gemini is when we get curious about the world and we need to name things and go out and meet others and like do all that stuff. And then Cancer is where, we connect with family, our home situation, our emotional security, family, all that good stuff. Sorry, kind of repeating that. But Leo is when we're the showman. We express ourselves. We finally start tapping into the artistic realm, that it's not just being here and surviving. It's about being creative, sharing that with others, inspiring them, getting everybody motivated, feeling that enthusiasm, and kind of leading the parade, just throwing a parade and jumping right in. So it's a lot of fun, and it's just a very enlivening force. And so I would just say, as you experience these transits, look at where you need some courage, where you need some confidence, and see if you can't just sort of harness that as these planets transit Leo. Now, there will be a little retrograde bottleneck, so let's talk about that, and then let's also talk about Saturn coming up against some of these Leo transits, because that's kind of important, okay? Okay, so I don't want to make too big of a deal out of it. However, because such big outer planets are involved in this thing, I'm kind of thinking, yeah, it's like not just a freeway jam, but it's involving semis and, trailers and all kinds of things. Yeah. So on the 25th of July, Venus goes retrograde, joining Pluto that's already retrograde, Neptune that's already retrograde, Saturn that's already retrograde. And then the very next day, the 26th, Uranus goes retrograde. So, that is a whole lot of planets. And again, all three of our big outer planets, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, are involved in this. All of them are going to be retrograde. So there may be, I'm curious to see how this is going to play out, like on the global stage, because, Pluto and Uranus have been doing so much with the global systems and all of that. So again, I can't really say how it's going to play out, but there is a big bottleneck. However, it does start to give way. The lanes start moving about August 1st when Saturn turns direct. So if things get a little weird, the last week of August last week of July, from about the 25th of July to August 1st, just sort of, lay low and let it all, the planets do their thing. Okay, so let's talk about that Saturn aspect, because it's a really important one in terms of how it's impacting all these planets in Leo. Okay, so this is a very contentious set of energies that it's going to take a little work for us to figure out how to navigate or integrate them. So as I mentioned, we have this whole party in Leo. Everybody's invited almost, we're going to have, what is that? The sun, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, a new Leo moon. That's like 6 of our planets are going to come to the Leo party, but Saturn is not one of them. And Saturn with the rings is all about restriction and authority and all that stuff. And the problem is it's 90 degrees away in Scorpio. And as most of you know, that's a square. So as each planet moves through Leo, it is going to hit an exact square at some point. So Saturn being in Scorpio, also the late intense degrees of Scorpio. So this isn't even just like nice, gentle Scorpio. This is intense. So one of the things to think about is, okay, Leo is lavish. It loves its luxury. It's, talks a little big, sometimes is a little overly dramatic. And especially with the Jupiter aspect, it could, spend more than it has, or act bigger than what it can back up. So kind of the checks and balance in the universe. Saturn in Scorpio is definitely a force that's going to temper that. Again, Saturn showing us limitations. I guess maybe it's like the party go until 4 a.m. and the neighbor saying, enough. So, but more seriously, it may be checking some of your plans for expansion and all this fiery energy that's also getting trined by Uranus over there in Aries, really firing up all those planets in Leo. Saturn comes and asks us to bring that into balance, to double check everything and make sure those big lavish Leo plans are something we can manage, and that it doesn't, that wildfire and enthusiasm doesn't get out of control. And the other aspect that's going to be helping that is Jupiter does move into Virgo. That's a huge transit. That's going to be a year-long thing. And I'm going to go into that a lot more next month because we'll be dealing with Virgo in general. But just notice this Jupiter energy is shifting. This will be the last of the Leo blowout. It won't be back to Leo for 12 years. And as it settles into Virgo, then we're going to take all that, wild, expansive, fire energy, and we're going to put it into practical form. But along the way, we're going to have Saturn making squares to the planets as they travel through Leo, making sure that we don't get too carried away. So I don't want to like scare anybody or make it sound, worse than it is, but it's, these are not forces working towards the same end, and it is calling us to keep big, extravagant Leo plans, in balance. So those aspects are coming up. All right, so I went through that a lot. There's a lot going on here. It's been a really busy summer here. I hope you're enjoying your summer. I am Elizabeth from Elizabeth's Oracle. You can pop by my site and sign up for a free monthly newsletter. You can also, I offer this special on YouTube. If you order from my site, we can pull your chart or just do a regular intuitive reading. And I do give 5 free minutes with your first order. And on the newsletter list, there are subscriber exclusives. So if you stay on the newsletter list, you do get some other specials that no one else gets to find out about. You can also check out these radio shows for some more free information. I visit with my friend Kristy on her show, Kristy's Connection to the Soul, and we talked more about this Leo thing and this shift into Virgo. So you can find out more there. And I also want to refer you to Kristy Walsh, my other Kristy, because she and I did her show, Surfing the Psychic Waves, and we talked about where all the planets are going to end up by the end of the year. And I think that's helpful as you're getting all excited and full of all this Leo, confidence and getting out there and doing things. You can then go, we got all this stuff shifting into Virgo. So the practical form of it is going to become more and more apparent. And of course, we're going to hit all those mutable squares. And so I covered a lot of that with her on her show. The links are all here in the description box. And so I invite you to listen to those. And I thank you so much for watching. I hope that gives you a little idea of the mixture of energies that we have coming up during the next sun cycle. Feel free to leave any questions in the comments section, and if I can answer them, I certainly will. And thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoy the Leo cycle ahead.